Hello everybody, get ready to do lesson 8.5. Okay, 8.5 part 2 classwork today, 22 points on your classwork sheet. Have that out in front of you now. Students, put your name, date, period here on your tablet, your phone, your Chromebook, your computer. And slope intercept form part 2 classwork 2. Okay, let's go right into page 1 of today's classwork. Using slope and y-intercept in real life. Earth science. The temperature at Earth's surface averages about 20 degrees centigrade. In the crust below the surface, the temperature rises by about 25 degrees centigrade per kilometer of depth. Part A, write an equation that approximates the temperature below the Earth's surface as a function of depths. Okay, so how do we do that? Part A, let x be the depth in kilometers below the Earth's surface, and let y be the temperature in degrees Celsius at that depth. Write a verbal model, then use the verbal model to write an equation. So here we go. Temperature below surface equals temperature at surface plus rate of change in temperature times depth below surface. So with that, we can go y, temperature below surface is y, equals temperature at surface is 20 degrees Celsius, plus rate of change in temperature would be 25 degrees Celsius per x. Okay, so 25 times x will give us our rise in temperature below the surface. So there it is. We go from our verbal to our algebraic. Boom, we're in business. Page 2. So what do we do with that? So B, underground bacteria exist that can survive temperatures of up to 110 degrees Celsius. Find the maximum depth at which these bacteria can live. So if you graph this, y equals 20 plus 25x, here's your graph here on a graphing calculator. Trace along the graph, here's your trace, until the cursor is on a point where y equals 110. So at right here, y equals 110.42553, when x equals 3.6170213. So right here. So y equals 110. For this point, x equals 3.6. So the maximum depth at which bacteria can live is about 3.6 kilometers. Okay, so that's cool. Let's go into our guided. Identify the slope and y-intercept of the line with a given equation. Use the slope and y-intercept to graph the equation. So we're going to graph this using slope and y-intercept. And then down here, students, do the same thing on your independent practice. Let's do our guided practice. So moving on into our solution here, we have 2x minus 3y equals 0. So to find the slope of this, we need to solve for y. So the first thing we do is move our 2x over here. So we subtract 2x from both sides. Then we have negative 3y equals negative 2 over x. We need to solve for y. So we need to divide both sides here by negative 3. And that will give us y equals 2/3 x. Here's our slope right here. So then y equals 2/3 x plus 0. So here's our y-intercept, which is at 0. So when y equals 0, x equals 0. So the line has a slope of 2/3 and a y-intercept of 0. So here's our y-intercept at 0, 0. And then here's our line here. We have a positive slope of 2/3. So when it's rise over run, so we have a rise here of 2. And then we have a run of 3. So here we go over horizontally 3 units to the right, then up 2 units, and then there is a plot right there. There's an ordered pair and when x equals 3, y equals 2. Let's go right into page 4 here. Parallel and perpendicular lines. There is an important relationship between the slopes of two non-vertical lines that are parallel and between the slopes of two non-vertical lines that are perpendicular. What are they? Well, the slopes of a parallel and perpendicular line two non-vertical parallel lines have the same slope. So for example here, A and B, line A and B, they both have a slope of m equals 2. So meaning you have a rise over run here. So you have a run here of 1, and then you have a rise here of 2, and same thing here. So rise over run is 2. So again, you have a run here of 1 and then a rise of 2. There's your slope. So two non-vertical perpendicular lines, their relationship between those two, as lines A and C are below here. So right here you have line A, line C. C is perpendicular to A. They have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. So A here has a slope of 2, positive 2, and then the negative reciprocal of 2 will be negative 1/2. So the slope here of C would be the negative 1/2. That's the relationship between lines that are perpendicular to each other. Let's try one now in an example. Let's do example 4, finding slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. So find the slope of a line that has a given relationship to the line with the equation 4x plus 3y equals negative 18. So A, let's find the slope of parallel, a line that is parallel to this line here. So A, first, write the given equation in slope-intercept form. So we need to do this in slope-intercept. Here's our original. How do we write it in slope-intercept? Get to here to slope-intercept. Well, we got to solve for y. So we move our x over to the other side. We subtract 4x from each side. Now we have 3y equals negative 4x minus 18. We need to solve for y. What's our next step? We need to divide each side by, or multiply each side by 1/3, or divide by 3 on both sides. We divide by 3. And this goes to negative 6, this goes to y, this goes to negative 4 over 3x. Here's our slope right here. We have negative 4/3 x is our slope. So the slope of the line is negative 4/3. Because parallel lines have to have the same slope, the slope of a parallel line is also negative 4 over 3. So we got to have a line that has a slope of negative 4 over 3 if it wants to be parallel to this line. So say, how do we do that? Well, let's try first a perpendicular to the line. Let's find the line perpendicular to 4x plus 3y equals negative 18. So how do we do that? From part A, we know the slope of the given line is negative 4/3. So the slope of a perpendicular line is the negative reciprocal of negative 4 over 3. What's that? So what is the negative reciprocal? We reciprocate it and we negate it, and we have 3/4. So the negative reciprocal of negative 4 over 3 is 3/4. So let's try one now in our guided up here. For the line with a given equation, here's our given line. Find the slope of a parallel line and the slope of a perpendicular line. What's the slope of a line perpendicular to y equals 4x plus 10? Well, isn't this our slope there? Here's our slope here, right, at 4x. So the slope of a parallel line would also be 4, right? And the slope of a perpendicular line would be the negative reciprocal of 4, which would be 1/4, and then negate 1/4. What's the reciprocal of 4? It would be 1/4, and then we negate it. So it would be negative 1/4 will be the slope of a perpendicular line of this line here. That's your lesson for today. Animate PowerPoint math video at AOL.com for questions or course materials. Thank you very much.